This is the third video that I'm making right now, and I plan to continue more than anything because I feel like I have something to say, like everybody else, like I'm the only one with something to say. But I'm devoting my life to saying something. God, what a weirdly sort of egotistical thing to say. I'm trying to talk around things, you know? I don't want to say like this is my background and these are my experiences. You know, I that can come out sort of organically, but I don't want to sit and give a resume of myself. I'm a teacher, so I teach. I'm clearly not an expert in production values, but I figure that'll come in time. And I have spent so long sort of wanting to, I don't want to say make videos, but to speak to whoever wants to listen, whoever might get something from it. Because there's so many things that are interweaving themselves into what I'm sort of studying. There's all of the stuff about Taoism and yin yang theory and Wu Wei, the uncarved block, and the organic way that nature manifests in the Tao. And then for me, I see Taoism as not so much, certainly not as a religion, and not so much as a philosophy for how to have a good life. It's a system of governance. You know, during the golden age in which dynasty was it? It was around 500 BC. I guess it was the Warring States period in China. So was that the Zhou dynasty? There's the Eastern and Western Zhou. I'd have to look it up. I keep meaning to get a tattoo of all the dynasties, but then I'd have to look at my leg while I'm in the middle of a video. And while that might get me some more followers, it's not a good use of time like this description is. Anyway, during the Warring States period, China was just in this state of upheaval. There were all these little kingdoms and warlords, and it was fractured. There was a lot of violence. And I don't think I don't think it's analogous to say America's like that. I think we're maybe moving in that direction, but we're certainly not in a warring states period. It's just we have 50 states. And I mean, that movie that just came out not long ago, Civil War, was kind of talking about what if California and Texas seceded together. And they're huge in terms of their economy, their ability to buy weapons. And obviously that movie, I didn't even like the movie that much. But the idea is we have all these different states with at least two different value systems. And in China, when they had the Warring States period, you had some different ideas about how to deal with this. You had Han Feizi and the legalist school, Fajia. You had the Yin Yang school. You had the school of names. You had, of course, Confucianism. And then you later had Neo-Confucianism, and you had Taoism. I mean, those are some of the big schools. And I think a lot about Confucianism and Taoism and legalism, which is kind of what we have in America, as different schools. But, then I also have this whole background of well over a decade and a half of improvisational theater. And for me, improv is not comedy at all. They're not even related. Well, no, that's not true. They're definitely related in that if you speak to somebody in the West, England or New Zealand or Canada or America about improv, they think you mean improv comedy because there's such a relationship to groups like the Kids in the Hall or Saturday Night Live or Upright Citizens Brigade or Second City or all of these groups that primarily are known for comedy. And I love comedy, but, improvisation is just doing something that's unscripted like this. And it's not that I don't plan to script these. I do. I'm a big believer in rehearsal. But for now, I got to get started. I got to put myself out there. And I find it embarrassing. And I'm scared that I'll be rejected. And I mean, whatever. If people write negative comments about me, that's fine. But, I'm scared to do this, to put myself out there. But the thing is, what I'm studying is how some of these governance ideas from classical China could maybe be employed in America but using technology. I'm a big believer in the blockchain and DAOs, ironically, not Taoism, but decentralized autonomous organizations. That's the kind of stuff I write about and research. Blockchain and DAOs and blockchain based government and the metaverse, and not the metaverse like some sort of techno fetishist lens of, I mean, right now the metaverse is little more than either games like Roblox or Minecraft or Fortnite, um, things like Second City that aren't just aren't populated, and then the sort of Decentraland, Somnium Space, voxels, the decentralized ones that aren't even really decentralized and tend to be more economic in a lot of ways that deal with like crypto real estate trading. But I see the metaverse as having potential. And I don't mean potential just in the sense of like William Gibson's Neuromancer or Neil Stephenson's The Diamond Age or Cryptonomicon or, things like that. I mean more, I was thinking about sovereignty recently. Like when we think of what does it mean to be sovereign, and if we look at the modern idea of sovereignty, the sort of Westphalian idea from the 1640s, where a state, a nation has control, I guess, both internally and externally. Internally, they can govern their land, their territory, the people, especially who were born in their territory. They can tax them. They can, the government has the power to imprison people, kill people, wage war. And then vis-a-vis other states externally, I got to say vis-a-vis, right? Did you notice? I'm trying to use some big words, but not too many because I don't want to come off as pompous as I really am. So am I just insulting myself or is it true? God, so much comes out just between me and this camera. It's crazy. Anyway, more shall be revealed. But there's lots of talks about or discussions or articles about sovereignty that aren't just about land. Like think of the Vatican. The Pope has, from the early Middle Ages, which I guess is around the 1200s, been involved in matters of sovereignty. The Vatican has sovereignty, but it's the Holy See, SEE, the Holy See that has sovereignty, not the land of the Vatican. Or the Order of Malta, which was a religious order founded in 1099. They have sovereignty and have always had sovereignty without land. They have diplomatic relations with like 110 countries. And now people talk about sovereignty of your data sovereignty, or sovereignty of your body, like women's bodily autonomy is sovereignty over their body. Like sovereignty can mean more than just land. And in the internet, there are discussions of do you have sovereignty over your data, your identity? But with the metaverse, you actually have territory. And it really is. I mean, is it persistent? Can you shut down the servers? Sort of, but hopefully with the idea of decentralized technology. I'm like noticing the shadow right here. I guess I have to do something about that. Production values. So, but the metaverse does have this claimable, bounded sort of territorial claim, which is, I think, really interesting because ultimately there is a point to this. And it's not just theory or these like high scaled head in the clouds ideas or philosophical notions or the phenomenology of an avatar being embodied in virtual space. Like that's all interesting. But I feel like we're heading towards a warring states period. And I understand, I live in America. The government has authority over me, they have sovereignty over me living here. But I feel like we need a second layer of sovereignty, something where small groups of people, and when I say small groups, it could be 10,000 people, but it also could be a neighborhood. It could be a couple hundred people. People get together and have some real sovereignty, a lot more than like a Facebook group or a WhatsApp group or a Instagram group or whatever, a Reddit subreddit group. Like we have to have more autonomy than that. We need it. The government is not, they're not handling the public commons very well. I mean, we all pay our taxes, and where does it go? To a ballroom, to a war, to corruption, to where's it going? At the very least, because I don't know, I can't say it's all corruption. Why is there no accounting of it? I have to account for my taxes. Why don't they have to account for how it's being spent to a degree that actually is going to meet an audit? The Department of Defense keeps failing their audit. So, my goal is not to make political videos because who am I? I'm just a teacher, but we're all going to have to do something about this. And, when I say we're all, most of us are not going to do a goddamn thing. And am I going to do anything besides write papers and maybe make videos? I don't know, but I'm going to try.